Live in the human paradise. Breathe the pure air of heaven. Longevity, vitality, and a lifetime of bliss.
住在人间小天堂，呼吸天堂纯气，延寿长生，幸福一生。
Okay, let's get into this. We've got some research here today that honestly presents a really provocative idea. Basically, it re-examines why we think we get old and frail. The core assertion is that, forgetting accidents or starvation, what actually ends our lifespan is this slow, chronic poisoning, an accumulation of toxins from modern life.
It's definitely a bold claim. And what's interesting is how these sources define this poisoning. It's not random. They argue it's systematic. Accumulation starts almost from birth, just by living in the modern world. And it's laid out quite clearly. There are 3 steps to this process.
Right. So tell us about those steps. How does this poison get in, stick around, and eventually, overwhelm us?
Well, first is entry. Getting into the bloodstream. That can happen through breathing, eating, drinking, even your skin. Then, once it's in, there's distribution. It travels everywhere, basically, through the circulatory system to organs, tissues. And the last stage, this is the really insidious one, deposition and fixation. This is where the toxic stuff binds to your cells or gets lodged in tissue gaps. It just builds up. The concentration increases until the body hits what they call a saturation point, a tipping point.
Huh. Sounds like a clock ticking away inside us.
Yeah.
So, if we're being slowly poisoned, where's it all coming from? Our sources identify 4 main pathways, these entry points. And the first one, breathing, the respiratory route. They say that's the biggest one.
Yeah, the single most major source of these systemic toxins. We really need to think about the air we breathe. And we're not just talking about obvious things like smoke or dust. You can see the main culprits are microscopic. Things like acids, alkalis, and especially these ultrafine particles. We mean PM 0.1, and even smaller.
PM 0.1. Just for context, how small is that?
It's incredibly small, less than 1/10 of a micron. So your body has natural filters in the lungs, right? But these particles are so tiny, they bypass those defenses. They go directly from the lung alveoli, those little air sacs, straight into your bloodstream.
Wow. Okay, so they just slip right past the guards?
Exactly. And the sources list things we encounter constantly. Industrial exhaust, car exhaust, chemicals called plasticizers, the stuff they add to plastics to make them flexible. It evaporates into the air, plus perfumes, general smoke. This pathway is just relentless, especially if you live or work in a city.
It makes sense. If something's getting into your system thousands of times a day with every breath, that's going to add up fastest.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Pathway number 2 is probably more familiar. Food and water toxins.
Right. This is the one we often think about more. And yeah, for good reason. We're absorbing pesticides, chemical fertilizers from our food, heavy metals too, lead, cadmium, mercury, and then from tap water, potentially chlorine, fluorides, maybe microbial toxins. All this intake puts long-term pressure on the body's filters, like the liver, kidneys, intestines, creates deposits.
Then there's pathway 3, which feels a bit sneakier, dermal absorption, coming right through our skin.
It really is a silent gateway. The sources point out just the sheer volume of chemicals we touch or apply daily. Think about cosmetics, strong cleaning products, hair dyes, sunscreens, even tiny molecules leaching from metal jewelry or plastics we handle. These things get absorbed through pores, sweat glands into the bloodstream, and once they're in, they can sit there, achieve long-term latency, basically hiding out for years.
Okay, and the 4th pathway. It groups together drugs and modern chemicals.
Yeah, this covers a couple of things. One is residuals. If someone's on long-term medication, the body might not break everything down completely. This leaves behind what the sources call secondary toxins, metabolic leftovers that can settle deep in organs. And then there are the volatile organic compounds, or VOCs.
Right, VOCs. We hear that term a lot. Remind us what those are.
You know that smell from a new car? Or new carpet, new furniture. That's often VOCs off-gassing. They're released from building materials, paints, plastics. They create this kind of constant, low-level chemical soup in our indoor air. And if your body's detox systems are overloaded, these VOCs can also settle and fixate deep inside.
Okay, so 4 relentless pathways. Air, food, water, skin, and these modern chemicals, drugs, all leading to this slow buildup. Which brings us to a really key concept in this research, midlife toxin saturation. When does this slow accumulation actually start to cause noticeable problems?
Well, the sources suggest there's a critical point, around 70% toxin saturation. At this level, your body's ability to compensate starts to struggle. It starts to fail. And it's really important to stress this. You're not necessarily sick in a diagnosable way yet, not diseased. Instead, you enter this period of functional decline. Your body is fighting, but it's losing ground. And this shows up as symptoms that fall into 5 distinct categories, recognizable patterns.
Okay, let's break down those 5 warning signs, starting with one I think everyone can relate to: energy decline type.
The symptoms here are so common, right? Brain fog, feeling like your battery's dead even after a full night's sleep. That afternoon slump where you absolutely need caffeine or sugar just to keep going. The cause, according to this research, is quite specific. Toxins are interfering directly with your mitochondria.
The cellular power plants.
Exactly. So if toxins are essentially clogging up these power plants, your energy production efficiency just tanks. Doesn't matter how much sleep you got. You're running on fumes all the time.
Okay, so that's the internal energy state. How does that connect to the circulation imbalance type? This sounds like it might tie back to those airborne toxins we talked about earlier.
It absolutely does. It's kind of the physical manifestation. Symptoms include things like poor temperature regulation, you're always cold when others aren't, or you overheat easily, getting short of breath just climbing stairs, heart palpitations when you're only mildly stressed, even feeling mentally empty sometimes. This category is directly linked back to that air pathway, those microscopic PM0.1 particles. They chronically attack and irritate the tiniest blood vessels, the microcapillaries.
And what happens when they attack those?
It causes vascular hardening. The vessel walls get stiff. This messes up microcirculation really badly. If your blood can't flow properly at that tiny capillary level, especially when you need it most, like under stress, you feel physically weak and mentally drained.
Right. Okay, the third category is sleep disorder type. I know so many people who describe this perfectly. Trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, restless nights, waking up feeling like you haven't slept at all.
The research connects this specifically to hypoxia in the brain, basically lack of oxygen. If toxins are messing with oxygen exchange and circulation, the brain isn't getting quite enough oxygen, especially at night. And when your brain is oxygen deprived, it literally can't enter those deep restorative stages of sleep properly. This leads to messed up melatonin secretion, and you wake up feeling completely unrestored, like the sleep didn't even count.
That's a much darker picture than just, I had too much coffee. Okay, fourth category, immune alarm type. This sounds like the body is just constantly on edge.
That's a good way to put it. It's essentially a state of chronic inflammation. Your immune system is constantly being poked, stimulated by this accumulated toxic load. The symptoms are classic signs of an immune system working overtime. Colds that just drag on forever, frequent sore throats or stuffy noses, maybe new allergies popping up or existing ones getting worse, constant sneezing, runny nose. Skin issues too, like eczema, unexplained itching, redness. Your body is stuck on high alert, creating this low-grade, persistent feeling of being unwell.
And the fifth category ties all this physical stuff to our mental state, the emotional distress type.
Yes, this one is complex, but the sources argue pretty clearly that toxins disrupt brain chemistry, neurochemistry. Symptoms can include a real lack of motivation, that I just don't care anymore feeling, emotional volatility, snapping easily, becoming super sensitive to light or sound, persistent anxiety that doesn't seem tied to anything specific, a general sense of helplessness, maybe wanting to avoid social situations. This is attributed to toxins impacting key neurotransmitters. Think dopamine, serotonin. It creates neuronal stress, basically making your mood regulation unstable.
So if you're dealing with brain fog, anxiety, poor sleep, feeling inflamed, the argument here isn't just midlife bad luck, it's potentially hitting that 70% toxin saturation point.
Yeah.
So what happens, according to these sources, when you push past that, past the functional decline?
Well, beyond 70%, the body just can't compensate anymore. And the breakdowns that follow aren't seen as random aging events. They're viewed as the inevitable result of that toxic overload. This is where you start seeing more sudden, dramatic system failures. Things like sudden spikes in blood pressure, unexplained rapid hair loss, muscle weakness that comes out of nowhere, and acute immune system failures conditions like lupus or Sjögren's syndrome seemingly appearing overnight. Metabolic problems also start showing up clearly on tests: fatty liver, prediabetes, kidney function abnormalities.
And the research goes even further, right? It mentions an 80% mark as being even more dangerous.
That's right. Past 80%, you're looking at potential collapse in major systems. Things like severe attention deficit, really intense autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis or psoriasis flaring up badly, and critical insulin failure leading to full-blown diabetes or pancreatitis. The core message is stark. That period of functional decline, feeling tired, anxious, inflamed, That's just the warning bell. If the toxic load isn't somehow addressed, the ultimate result, according to this perspective, is predictable organ failure, systemic breakdown.
Okay, given this pretty grim picture and the idea that medication often just manages symptoms, not the root cause, the proposed solution must be pretty radical. What do these sources say is the one way back from that 70% saturation point?
It is radical, and it's starkly simple, but also incredibly demanding. The proposed solution is this. The body must henceforth breathe truly clean air every single day.
Wow. So it circles right back to pathway 1, the PM 0.1, the VOCs.
Yeah.
The air we breathe being the biggest issue.
Absolutely. The argument is you simply cannot repair the widespread damage to mitochondria, capillaries, neurotransmitters, while the toxic assault continues full force. To give those systems a chance to recover, you have to block the toxins at the main entry point, stop the flood. The only way to provide that necessary healing time is to create what the sources call a truly non-toxic resting space. It's not about detox teas or supplements, according to this view. It's about fundamentally stopping the constant influx of those invisible, odorless air toxins, giving the body a genuine break.
So if this perspective holds water, that feeling many of us have, being constantly tired, anxious, inflamed, isn't just getting older or laziness. It's a direct warning sign, a measurable consequence of the body losing its battle against toxic saturation. That functional decline is the critical alert before things really start to break down.
Exactly. It completely reframes how we might think about wellness and aging. It positions that common modern malaise, the brain fog, the bad sleep, the mood issues, the aches, as potentially the direct precursor to serious systemic organ failure down the line. If you recognize yourself in those 5 symptom categories, the sources argue your body is screaming that it's reached its saturation limit.
And the emphasis is so heavily placed on airborne toxins, those ultrafine particles, the VOCs, is the primary driver. And the solution proposed is equally focused. Daily, truly clean air. So here's the thought to leave you with. Given how pervasive these invisible air contaminants are in our homes, our workplaces, our cars, everywhere, how realistic actually is it to achieve this truly non-toxic resting space? And if you were to take this research seriously, what practical steps, focusing solely on air quality as the solution demands, would you even need to consider to genuinely stop the daily accumulation of these airborne threats?
The Air 6 Free Maze Purifier is the world's only device that truly filters toxic airborne particulates and aerosols. Its core design returns the duty of air cleaning to machines, so people no longer act as living filters. Air 6 Free means dust-free, germ-free, toxin-free, smoke-free, odor-free, and heavy metal-free. 5 purification steps. Step 1: Ionization zone. Dual electrostatic pre-filters. Captures dust, pollen, plastic, microparticles, VOCs, and toxic gases. Step 2: Secondary ionization stage. Neutralizes pathogens and toxins. Charges all remaining particles and aerosols negative. Prepares them for final capture. Step 3: Electrostatic collection maze box. The sacrificial black box permanently locks away ultrafine pollutants. Aerosol droplets lose water and airflow. Residual toxins deposit onto positive plates. Solidly plated, irreversibly fixed. Step 4: Maze effect. Forces airflow through repeated sharp turns. Nanotoxins collide with surfaces and are completely adsorbed. Step 5: Output pure, toxin-free, pure air. System delivers the purest air on Earth. Dust-free, germ-free, toxin-free. Smoke-free, odor-free, heavy metal-free. Conclusion: this is more than a filter. It is the one true key to unlocking humanity's lifespan shackles.